What do witches, revolutionaries, and Harvard all have in common? They all play a part in the incredible story of Massachusetts. From the days when indigenous tribes roamed its forests to the revolutionary fervor that shaped a nation, and on to its role as a modern hub of innovation, Massachusetts has always been a state where history happens. So buckle up as we dive into the full history of the Bay State, a journey that spans thousands of years and countless stories of resilience, creativity, and transformation. Long before Europeans arrived, Massachusetts was home to a rich tapestry of indigenous cultures. The region was predominantly inhabited by the Massachusetts, Wampanoag, Nipmuc, and Pocumtuck tribes. These peoples thrived for thousands of years, developing sophisticated societies centered on fishing, farming, and hunting. They grew maize, beans, and squash, the three sisters, and lived in harmony with the land, adapting to its seasons. Trade routes crisscrossed the region, linking communities and fostering cultural exchange. The indigenous peoples of Massachusetts were deeply spiritual, with traditions and ceremonies closely tied to the natural world. However, their lives would change forever, with the arrival of European settlers in the early 1600s. In 1620, a group of English Puritans, later known as the Pilgrims, landed at Plymouth aboard the famous Mayflower. They sought religious freedom and a fresh start in the New World. With the help of local Wampanoag leader Massasoit and translator Squanto, the Pilgrims survived their first harsh winter. The first Thanksgiving in 1621 symbolized a brief period of cooperation between the settlers and the native peoples. But the story of European colonization in Massachusetts wasn't limited to Plymouth. In 1630, a larger group of Puritans established the Massachusetts Bay Colony in what is now Boston. Led by John Winthrop, they envisioned their colony as a city upon a hill, a beacon of religious purity and moral integrity. The Puritans were industrious, establishing schools, churches, and towns. However, their rigid beliefs and land expansion often led to conflict with indigenous tribes. The Pequot War from 1636 to 1638 and King Philip's War from 1675 to 1678 were devastating for native peoples, with many killed or displaced. By the 18th century, Massachusetts had become a thriving colony with bustling ports-growing towns and a strong economy based on fishing, shipbuilding, and trade. But tensions with Britain were brewing. Massachusetts played a pivotal role in the events leading up to the American Revolution. The Boston Massacre in 1770, when British soldiers fired into a crowd of colonists, and the Boston Tea Party in 1773, where patriots dumped British tea into the harbor, were pivotal moments of rebellion. The first battles of the Revolution, the battles of Lexington and Concord, erupted in April 1775, followed by the famous Battle of Bunker Hill in June. Leaders like Samuel Adams, John Adams, and Paul Revere emerged as key figures in the fight for independence. Massachusetts became the heart of the Revolution, hosting pivotal meetings, battles, and debates that ultimately led to the signing of the Declaration of Independence in 1776. After the Revolution, Massachusetts quickly adapted to life as part of a new nation. The state's economy flourished through fishing, whaling, and trade. In the early 19th century, Massachusetts became a hub for the Industrial Revolution in America. Cities like Lowell and Lawrence became centers of textile manufacturing powered by the region's rivers. Immigrant labor played a significant role in this industrial boom, with Irish, Italian, and later Eastern European communities settling in the state. Massachusetts was also a center for intellectual and cultural life. The Transcendentalist movement, led by writers like Ralph Waldo Emerson and Henry David Thoreau, emerged in the 1830s and 1840s. Meanwhile, abolitionists such as Frederick Douglass and William Lloyd Garrison called for the end of slavery. When the Civil War erupted in 1861, Massachusetts was firmly on the side of the Union. The state sent tens of thousands of soldiers to fight against slavery and secession. One of Massachusetts' most famous contributions was the 54th Massachusetts Infantry Regiment, one of the first African-American units in the Union Army. Their bravery in battle was immortalized in the film Glory and remains a symbol of courage and equality. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, Massachusetts continued to thrive as a center of education and innovation. The very first telephone call by Alexander Graham Bell to his assistant Thomas Watson, who was in the next room, took place in Boston in 1876. The first sewing machine was created in Boston by Elias Howe in 1845. The state became home to some of the world's leading universities, including Harvard and the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, or MIT, and the first computer was developed by Dr. Vannevar Bush in 1928. Massachusetts also played a leading role in the fight for women's rights and workers' rights. The Bread and Roses strike of 1912 in Lawrence was a landmark moment in labor history, as thousands of textile workers, many of them immigrant women, protested for fair wages and better working conditions. During this period, the state also saw cultural growth, with figures like poet Emily Dickinson and authors Nathaniel Hawthorne and Louisa May Alcott leaving their mark on American literature. The 20th century saw Massachusetts evolve into a hub of innovation, education, and progressive politics. The state became synonymous with the Kennedy family, with John F. Kennedy, born in Brookline, becoming the 35th President of the United States in 1961. Massachusetts was at the forefront of the civil rights movement, with leaders advocating for racial equality and social justice. In 2004, it became the first state in the U.S. to legalize same-sex marriage, setting a precedent for the nation. Today, Massachusetts is known for its cutting-edge industries, from biotechnology and healthcare to technology and education. Cities like Boston have become global leaders in innovation, while the state's rich history continues to attract millions of visitors every year. Massachusetts has always been a state of firsts. Boston was the site of the first public subway system in America, built between 1895 and 1897. The first public school was also built here as far back as 1635. The first Thanksgiving is also believed to have taken place at Plymouth, Massachusetts in 1621. Massachusetts has been a place where ideas are born, revolutions are sparked, and progress is made. As we look to the future, Massachusetts continues to balance its historical legacy with its modern identity as a leader in science, education, and social change. Hopefully you learned something new today and will share this video with others. Before you go, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed the content. We are the Minutemen of History.